Buckle up, rockers. Today on Rock Resurgence Radio, we're separating the party anthems from the power ballads as we rank every Kix album. That's right, from the Red Hot debut to, well, let's just say things get interesting. Get ready for hairspray, shredding solos, and enough catchy hooks to fill a fruit basket. Let's dive in.
Hi, and welcome to Rock Resurgence Radio. My name is Chad, and this is my co-host Chris, otherwise known as Bergie. Today, Chris is going to take the helm, and he's going to talk about a band that he likes, and he's going to rank their albums for us. So, with that, we'll let it go. So, have at it, Chris.
The band that I picked out is this band right here, Kix. I figured since they just retired, this is a shirt from their last show, which I did not attend, but 1980 to 2023, they had their last show in their hometown, or around their hometown neighborhood in Maryland for back in September, I believe it was.
I attended the second to last show at a rock festival in Minnesota called Rocktember, and I had never seen them before, so Chris kind of informed me of what I was in for, and he wasn't wrong. He said they're very, very good live, and he goes, I bet you they'll be the best band you see all weekend, and it was true. So anyways, I just wanted to interject that I finally saw them after years and years and years, and I got to see the second to last show, which is kind of cool.
Really close to our neighborhood, so it wasn't too far away. Maryland's a little out of our wheelhouse. But
a lot of our jurisdiction.
I really wanted to go, but I can't remember why I couldn't, but I couldn't. So Kix, the band we're going to talk about today. So Kix, like I said, they started in 1980, and I think just like anybody else, they, kicking around before that under a couple different names and whatnot. But the iteration that we all know and love is from 1980. So we're going to go through the Kix catalog today, and we're going to rank them from 1 to 5. Or top to bottom for me, and Chad will give us his 2, 3, 5 favorites, whatever, in order. And again, just a personal opinion. But I love Kix. I've seen them a few times live. Funny story about it. One time they had to cut their show short. It was an outdoor thing, and there was a tornado. Tornado never actually happened, and I was mad that they couldn't finish their set, but I was right there rocking along with it till the very end. Their first album, self-titled Kix, came out in September 1981. It wasn't my first Kix album, but like any other band, you go back and you love, and I love Kix. You go back into their catalog and listen to the stuff that maybe you didn't discover right away. But we'll go through the track listing. I'll give you a couple of my favorite songs off of there. Chad can give you a couple of his favorite songs off of there, and then we'll move on to the next one, and so on. So, Kix, track listing. It opens with a song called Atomic Bombs. Then Love at First Sight is track number 2. Heartache, Poison, The Itch, Kicks Are for Kids, Contrary Mary, The Kid, and Yeah, Yeah, Yeah finishes the album. So, totally different vibe than our last episode as far as musically. Metallica is super hard. Kix is more poppy. Hair band. I don't know if they would take that moniker, hair band, but
yeah, that term is loosely associated with this era of music, and I think it came out after. I don't know who came up with it, but it was kind of a derogatory term, because basically saying that all these bands had to offer was big hair, but it just kind of stuck, and there's certain bands that are hair bands, your Poisons and stuff like that. That's the number one band that comes to my mind when you say hair band.
Poison. Yeah, Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
Poison.
But like Kix was doing stuff way before this hair band thing came about.
To me,
they're just a rock and roll band.
Yeah, they have a lot of, and when we get to their fourth album, that's where they kind of took off, and that's kind of probably where a lot of it started for me. Maybe their third album a little bit. Their first album is a little different than if you haven't heard this from front to back. I'm trying to think of the words for it. It's definitely not as hard and edgy. It's a little more poppy. But there are a couple of songs on here that they do play live. I know for a fact, The Itch, and I think everybody knows, and they probably finish with this song a lot. And I don't know if they finished with Yeah, Yeah, Yeah. But it's kind of one of those tracks where it's a catchy song, but there's a lot of Steve Whiteman, the vocalist, telling a story towards the end of the song.
Yep.
About a girl that walked out on him last night.
New Year's Eve.
Yeah, New Year's Eve. Yeah, and it's just
not
kind
the big bottle of Jack Daniels,
right?
Not
the little one. Yeah. So if you know, you know. If you don't, you should go back and check it out for sure.
Yes, excellent song.
So my favorite two songs on here are probably going to be those two, just because I get to see them when they play live, or when they did play live. Again, they called it quits in September of last year. So that's
my two favorite on that. And getting back to how you were kind of trying to describe it, it's different because it's not really distorted guitars. It's almost like it's kind of a poppy feel, like you said. With not real distorted guitars. They're kind of just, I don't know, it's almost folksy in a way, but really catchy. The rhythms of the guitar playing and the vocals are they're super catchy. So my two favorite songs, I think, the one that's a little more plugged in is The Kid. I like that one, that rhythm. It's a cool song, so I picked that one. And I'd have to go with Yeah, 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 because it's just with the story in the middle of it. And if you have, like you said, if you know, you know. If you don't know, you should go and listen to Yeah, Yeah, Yeah off of Kix' first album, because it's a really cool song, and he does some a cool story in the middle of it, which they always do live, and he embellishes it a bit. So, anyways, those are my two.
So moving on to their second album, Cool Kids, which came out March 7th of 1983. I was 11 years old, same age as my son right now, and I can't necessarily imagine me listening to this at 11 years old, because I didn't. Again, I went back after I heard the next album, which we'll talk about, and went back to these previous two. But Cool Kids, I gotta say, so it opens with a song called Burning Love, not the Elvis Presley song, but
Hunka Hunka?
Yeah, not that one, but Burning Love, another one I've heard him play live. And then the second song is Cool Kids, which is kind of that is to me, when I think about hanging out with my friends as a young teenager or whatever, that song, reminds me of that a lot. I guess maybe it was a single off of this album. I know they made a video, really cheesy if you go back and watch it, and I think even then it was kind of cheesy, but that song, it just makes me think of hanging out with my friends and acting cool and listening to music, doing things maybe that we weren't supposed to be doing as kids. Love Pollution's third song, Body Talk, really catchy songs, good beat. Local Emotion, number 5 on there, Mighty Mouth, Nice on Ice, Get Your Monkeys Out. For Shame, the ballad, I guess, for lack of a better word, although it doesn't have the same, I love you, you love me kind of ballady type lyrics. And then the album closes with a song called Restless Blood. But I could listen to both of these first two albums from front to back and just, I love every song. I do. Cool Kids, again, really good song. Just fun. Mention probably in a previous take that'll be cut out that this is way different than Metallica that we talked about in the last episode, where the longest song on this album is 4 minutes and 4 seconds. So not your 10-minute opus type songs, huge guitar solos and a different bridge and chorus and bridge. Just really short, fun tunes.
The band that comes to mind to me with Kicks is they have an AC/DC type of feel to it. Short, to the point, good, just a rock and roll band.
For sure.
They wrote short songs, good drum, good guitar, good vocals, and it just works.
And I think you'll hear that a lot more on the next two, or even the next three for sure, where it makes you think of AC/DC a little bit. But like AC/DC, I mean, they may have a bad rap for being short and simple songs.
Sounding all the same.
Like I said in our trailer, I'm no musician. I'm just a fan. I couldn't tell you which one's easier to play or which one's harder to play or any of that stuff, but I just know what I like.
Yeah.
And AC/DC, just about every song they play is fun and catchy, and that's kind of how I feel about Kicks.
You're going to pick your two songs?
Yeah, so my favorite two songs on Cool Kids they're going to be Cool Kids. And that's tough. It's tough. I think Mighty Mouth is a really fun song.
Okay, I think I'd definitely go with Cool Kids. Like you said, it's a fun song. And I'm struggling on the second one too, because I don't remember this one as near as much as I do the first one. But I think Love Pollution, I believe that is the other one that I really, really dug. So I'm going to go with those two. And then we'll let Chris move on to the next album.
Yes, good song, Love Pollution. So their third album, which was their, I guess, kind of a breakout for them to a point. Although I'm looking on the computer here and I don't see it charting at all in the U.S. Their next one did. But Midnight Dynamite, I mean, just you look at the album cover and it's Steve on there with the stick of dynamite in his hand as a microphone. And it's about ready to blow up. And that, to me, this album did just blow up. Like every song on it's a banger from start to finish. It opens with Midnight Dynamite. And this, to me, this is like a whole new era of Kicks compared to those two. But again, this is kind of where I got into Kicks. And I can listen to this and I can go back and listen to the first two albums and I like them just as much. But this is definitely more in my wheelhouse of, when we talked about it in our first episode, we talked about Rat Out of the Cellar and Motley Crue Shout at the Devil. This is that kind of music more so,
right?
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it has that sound. Whereas the first one, it's almost, like I said, without the distortion, almost sounds like 70s.
Yeah.
Where 80s was all about distortion and how much distortion you could get on your guitar.
I mean, so Midnight Dynamite track 1, then it goes on to Red Hot, Black and Blue, just catchy. The choruses are catchy on every one of these songs. Bang Bang, Balls of Fire. Again, really short songs. Actually, there is a song on here that hits the 5-minute mark.
Walking Away, right?
No, actually, it's Cold Shower. But Walking Away is kind of a 4:55.
I knew that one was fairly long.
That's their For Shame was a ballad, so to speak, on the other album. But Walking Away was kind of their first and definitely not their most popular ballad, which we'll get to. It was kind of their breakout hit. And they're going to play it at every show, but that's coming up on the next album. Laying Rubber, number 4, Walking Away, number 5, and if I flip the cassette over, this is a CD, obviously, in my hand, but Scarlet Fever opens the second side, Cry Baby, Cold Shower, Lie Like a Rug, and finishes off Who Doesn't Love a Song Named Sex.
Right.
And that song, well, we'll get back to that. I kind of left off talking about the catchy choruses of Red Hot, Black and Blue, and Bang Bang, Balls of Fire, same thing. Laying Rubber, if I had to throw away a song on there, maybe that's the one. Walking Away ballad, again, which is great to me. Scarlet Fever, just a catchy chorus in that one too. Cry Baby and Cold Shower. Cold Shower, I think they play a lot. They did, the last show I saw that was cut short because of a tornado. That I think was probably the last song they played, and I love to hear that song live. Lie Like a Rug, good song too. But so back to Sex, the last song on the record or CD or
album.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. It just pumps like, I wish I could play it in the background. Obviously,
kicks in with that harmonica. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It not a dirty song necessarily. Just there's a story to it.
Yeah.
It makes you feel a certain way. It gets you going, gets you pumped up at the show. Just album, just from top to bottom, I feel this way about a lot of the Kicks albums, but I could pop it in. I'm not going to skip any songs. I'm going to play it from front to back.
I'm with you on the Lion Rubber thing, though. If I had to throw a song off of that one, that would be it. Favorites. What are your two favorites? I'm curious. I wonder if we'll have the same thing. I don't think we will.
Well, I talked probably the most about Sex. Let's talk about Sex. So Sex is up there. Midnight Dynamite, I think, are my two favorites. The first song and the last song. But everything in between, it's hard to not say. Bang Bang, Balls of Fire. It's got to be up there. Scarlet Fever. Gosh, Cold Shower. Those are probably my top five. So, I would probably take Midnight Dynamite and Sex.
I would go with Cry Baby and Cold Shower. Those are my two favorites. But I want to say something about Walking Away, because that is a super good song. I just listened to this album here a couple of months ago, and I got to that song and I was listening to it, and I'm like, holy balls, why didn't this ever become huge? Yeah. This is such a good song. The lyrics are great. The music's great. It's just a really good ballad. Matter of fact, I think it's their best ballad. The record sales wouldn't say that. We'll talk about their big ballad that come out on the next album. But God dang it, I like that song.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so.
This is the one that put them on the, and probably it's funny because I can, Blow My Fuse is the next album. Kicks Blow My Fuse. 10 songs on it. Again, like the previous album. I think they're all great from front to back. I can probably find a throwaway song, but not really. All killer, no filler, as they say. But I'm going to tell just a little quick story about how I came about this. I think MTV had a little bit of a part of it, but it wasn't so I'm going to read the track list really quick. Red Light, Green Light, TNT, Get It While It's Hot, No Ring Around Rosie, Don't Close Your Eyes, which was the huge ballad hit that MTV picked up on. She Dropped Me the Bomb. Cold Blood, though, was the first song that caught me. Then I'm going to come back to that. Piece of the Pie, Boomerang, Blow My Fuse, and Dirty Boys are the 10 songs that are on Blow My Fuse. Cold Blood, I think it got some radio airplay. And when did this album come out?
I would guess
1988.
If I had to guess, I would guess, because back in the day, the secret to success was they always released a rocker first and then a ballad second. So if I had to guess, I would say they released Cold Blood first as a single. Yeah. But don't quote me on that, but I know that's kind of typically how they did it.
I feel like, so I'm looking at Wikipedia, and it shows singles from Blow My Fuse: Get It While It's Hot, Blow My Fuse, Don't Close Your Eyes.
What?
Well, yeah, I don't even see Cold Blood on here. So, but
Okay.
and I also felt like this came out a lot earlier than 1988. And so to me, now
That was 86, I think.
This Midnight Dynamite, 86. Okay.
I think.
Well, then I definitely heard of Kicks and got into it from this album.
Yeah, that's me too. That's exactly how it went.
This one came out. Now I'm thinking about it a little bit more. I'd already been into them. This one kind of came out and I didn't know. That wasn't one that I went to the record store and picked up, although looking at the date it came out, I would have been 17 years old. I could have, and probably should have, especially as much as I love Kicks now. I should have picked this one up when it came out. But I think my cousin Robbie, who you know, had and maybe he had it. And maybe, so that's the first song on side 2. It's the first song that I heard off the album. And I'm like, just the start of that song. Yeah, I mean, wish we could play it in the background.
I know, I want to hum it, but we probably get copyright infringement for that because I'm a really good hummer.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, not that kind of hummer.
Moving along. But Cold Blood, that got me into them. But going back then to Don't Close Your Eyes was a big deal.
You keep forgetting to pick your 2 songs.
What? Are we done talking about it?
No, I'm going to talk about it some too.
Okay.
Because it's one of those albums that, there's all killer, no filler. Like you said. The only one I can't wrap my head around is Dirty Voice. I can't remember that one very well.
I can hear it.
But there's a couple that just stand out to me. Well, there's so many on that one.
It's hard for me to pick 2.
It's hard to pick 2 on there. Let's go with 3. I think I can do 3.
Okay, I can do 3 for sure.
You go first.
Okay, Cold Blood.
Yep.
Just because. And I'm not going to pick the ballad at all.
Nope, me either.
Piece of the Pie and Get It While It's Hot. Those are my 3, but they Blow My Fuse. So my 3 are going to be Cold Blood, Piece of the Pie, and Get It While It's Hot.
So mine would be, I would be Cold Blood, Blow My Fuse because of that guitar intro. And I think my last one, God, I think it's going to be No Ring Around Rosie for me on that one. It's just a great, great album. I mean, I loved every song on there. Red Light, Green Light, TNT was good, but it wasn't like as catchy as the rest. But from Get It While It's Hot, No Ring Around Rosie, Don't Close Your Eyes. Ballad's a ballad. If we're doing ballads, we'll talk about ballads. That wouldn't make my probably top 10. She Dropped Me the Bomb. That's catchy as heck. Piece of the Pie is excellent. Boomerang, I can't remember that one really well either. But Blow My Fuse, that guitar intro, I just heard that and I went, oh, that is so cool. And that's why that was in my top 3.
Yeah, I'm sad to see them retire, but I get it. I mean, you talk about when we were talking about Metallica, the first album came out in 1983. And then their latest one is 2023. So that's 40 years.
Yeah.
And so going back to when we even talked about guys like, say, Vince Neil, it doesn't sound quite the same.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for 40 years. And so Steve Whiteman sounds like
excellent.
He did. But I've heard him talk in interviews and things like it's harder for him to make the same vocal sounds that he did at a younger
20 years
age.
ago. Yeah.
He could still do it. He still pulls it off. And that's why I feel like, why did they retire? They
did mention something about health issues, and he didn't specify who had health issues. I don't know if it was somebody in the band or whatever, but since Steve is pretty much the leader, it had to be him, I would think. Because if it was the drummer and they still wanted to go, they could probably find a drummer to do the drumming. But I think you can't do Kicks without Steve Whiteman.
Yeah, they took a lot of time off between, the next one, and so between they really only did seven studio albums. There's a couple of live albums, and then there's some DVDs and things like that. But between maybe I should save that till we get there, and I will. But they did take a lot of time off, and there was a reunion. So there was a lot of 1980 to 1980 to 2023 is 43 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
But there was some side projects in there, and I'm going to touch on those too because I think they're worth checking out.
Absolutely.
I have a couple, 3, 4 of them, that I've listened to, and I'm like, okay, this tided me over until they came out with their most recent release, which I'm looking at on my computer. It's 9 years ago.
Isn't that crazy?
It is.
If I were a guessing man, I would have guessed 5 years ago at maximum.
Yeah. So the next one, though, this came out in 1991, Kicks Hot Wire.
Right in the heyday.
Yep. 1991, right. Where I'm not 21 yet, but I'm an adult. This is when I was in the Navy. This came out, and I can remember getting out of the Navy and coming home and putting this in I think I had a CD player in my car stereo at that point. It wasn't cassettes anymore. I think I'd finally moved into the CD era. Hot Wire, track 1. Just a good start to an album.
Mm-hmm.
Again, even more AC/DC-ish to me. Girl Money, great song. Probably one of my favorite Kick songs ever. Loveaholic. Their requisite ballad, Tear Down the Walls, which I think is a good ballad too. Bump the La La, interesting song title.
Yep.
Not sure what he's referring to necessarily there. We can leave that to your imagination. Rock and Roll Overdose. Again, even the title sounds like AC/DC. Cold Chills. A lot like Cold Blood as far as the song title goes. Great song. Same Jane. I take it back. Same Jane is my favorite song on this album. So I'm giving away my top 2.
That's okay.
Was Same Jane and Girl Money. Pants on Fire, Liar Liar is song number 9. And then it finishes with a song called The Heebie Jeebie Crush.
Don't even remember that song.
I do.
That was a long one, though.
Yeah. That was a long one.
5:33.
Yeah. So going back again, my 2 favorites, like Same Jane, it's just such a catchy song, like from start to finish. The chorus is great. It just makes you want. And then they play this one live in all the shows I've seen. I didn't, so obviously I didn't see them pre-1991, which is odd because I'm sure they toured with some bands that I would have wanted to see on this album.
Right.
And even the one before. But I probably didn't go to on the side note, and maybe we could do a show about this, and I'm sure we will do a show about concerts.
Bands that you always wanted to see but never got to?
Yeah, but just like your first concert. Like my first concert was probably in 1983, and I was 12.
Yeah, I was probably...
And maybe it's even later than that.
What year did 7800 Degrees Fahrenheit and Invasion of Your Privacy come out? I think that was my first concert.
Rat and Bon Jovi?
Bon Jovi opened for Rat.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. I think that was my first one.
That was pre-New Jersey. New Jersey was 86. Or no, I'm thinking of Slippery When Wet.
Yeah, I think that was my first one. I don't know.
But
there was a Kiss concert on Animalize. No.
Mine was Toto at the State Fair.
Yeah. I forgot about the State Fair. I think I went to one there too, but I don't remember it, so it couldn't have been good.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of it, but I was probably, maybe I was 13 or 14 years old. Sure, we could find that out. But anyway, going back to how come we got sidetracked on concert?
I don't know, because we're guys.
Well, yeah. So Kicks though, that Same Jane number one for me, and then Girl Money number two.
We totally agree on those two songs, by far. What you said about Same Jane and Girl Money, both. Same Jane is way more catchy, I think. It's just, I mean, it's more AC/DC-ish. It's just got that certain guitar sound. And Girl Money is just excellent. It's got a really great chorus. Dun, 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 dun.
This is where I got sidetracked because I'm talking about every concert I've seen of Kix. So that means I hadn't seen one pre-1991.
Right.
They played that song, and I can't help but sing along, and I know all the words when they're, I couldn't recite them for you now. But when the song's banging, I'm singing along.
I know, me too.
I'm just making a fool of myself because it's fun.
It is. And that's what you go there for. That's why you pay the money. You pay the money because you want to see your favorite bands live. And I mean, if it's your first time, you're always like, I wonder what they're going to sound like. I wonder if they're going to sound like
they're going to play this song or that song. I wonder if they'll
play my favorite song, this song or that song, But when you continually go to them, it's because you love their music and you want to sing along and you want to have a party and you just want to get down with other like-minded people.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I still go to concerts. I don't go as many as I used to, but I still go.
Yeah, it's funny now that we're adults.
Now I can afford it.
And you can sort of afford it.
Yeah.
It's questionable at some days, but
yeah.
But you could go to a lot more, but it seems like we did go to a lot.
I don't think I can afford Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have Taylor Swift money.
Yeah.
But Kix money, I got.
You got Kix money.
Yeah.
You got Girl Money.
Girl Money.
Kix has Girl Money.
Yep.
Well, so moving on into their next album, which came out just 4 years later, but it seemed like a long time between albums for me. And now I'm an adult, actually 95. I was probably getting close to married and having kids. I guess my oldest daughter was born in 96, so I didn't yet. But music wasn't necessarily the highest priority in my life at that time. But I remember going out and picking this up, and it even the cover, it looks like. And even before we started doing this episode, Chad had mentioned that he says the show business, that was like a greatest hits. And I refreshed his memory.
Yeah.
It's not. A lot of the song titles on there sound super familiar. I'm going to list them off.
I'll be honest, you know where I got that from? Freaking Chat GPT.
Okay.
They steered me wrong.
Yeah. So AI doesn't know everything.
It doesn't know everything. Wikipedia, however, has got me on the straight and narrow now.
So I don't know if do you know this album very well?
You're on your own on this one. I can't pick a favorite too because I don't remember it. My buddy Jay Johnson was a big Kix fan, and I was going to mention that. Like, we both got into it at the same time on Midnight Dynamite. That's kind of when we first discovered who Kix was, and we went back and listened to the first two albums, and then Blow My Fuse came out, and it kind of put them in a different category. I didn't get that album right away. My buddy Jay did. And I think that's about the time when CDs were coming out, if I remember correctly. Late 80s.
Blow My Fuse?
Yeah, right around. Sure. Yeah. And so we both had tape decks and stereos in our car. It was a big thing back in the 80s to have a stereo in your car and sounds good. But we had tape decks, and it was, this is kind of going on a little tangent, but just bear with me. Before CDs, like I had a Kenwood deck that had this thing called Tape Advance, where you would hit, as long as that button was on, you would hit fast forward,
and then go to the next song.
It would stop when it found a gap.
Right.
So, anyways, but at this time on Blow My Fuse, Jay Johnson had got like a Sony disc Walkman.
Yep.
Whatever.
You had to plug in.
You had to plug in, so you used a tape adapter into the tape deck, had this, and then you tried to put it on something soft so it didn't skip all the time.
When you hit a bump, it didn't,
Yeah. So it took me a while to get into CDs for a while because it pissed me off because it would skip all the time. And I'm like, why would I want to listen to that?
Yeah.
It skips all the time. And we drove gravel, booze cruising all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And gravel roads are not paved.
Yeah. Well,
So-
when you grow up in a small town like the both of us did,
Yeah.
that's most of the roads traveled are going to be on gravel.
Yeah, because that's what we did back in the 80s. The kids, I don't know what's wrong with kids today, but they don't do that stuff. But anyways, yeah, so you're on your own on this one. I don't know any of the songs, so I'm not even going to pretend to pick two songs because I have no idea.
Yeah, when I probably didn't buy it like day one when it was out, but I would say pretty close. I probably passed by a music store in the mall, or maybe at Budget I walked in just, hey, how's it going? Long time no see, because I'd kind of gotten away from music, I guess, in a little bit. It probably was a little bit of a hangover from all my bands are gone, because it was 1995 this came out. So
Right.
grunge was still somewhat popular, stuff that I really didn't so much care for or I was trying to get into. And
Didn't strike
the
that
hair
nerve.
bands, we use that term a lot, were kind of gone. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff that came out in the 90s and a lot of great stuff even that's coming out today. I just ordered a new album I'm super excited about. Hopefully I'll do a review on here one day.
Yeah.
When I get it, I haven't even got it yet. Just came out. But that's a whole other thing. But so I walk by the store or into the store, and I remember seeing this and I'm thinking, Kicks. Was that the same Kicks that did Blow My Fuse, Hot Wire, Midnight Dynamite? Like, well, it's got to be. So I pick it up and I look at it, and I'm like, yeah, those are the guys on the back, and even the names of the songs: Ball Baby, Bang Bang Balls of Fire, Ball Baby, great tune. 911, catchy chorus. I probably overuse that catchy term a lot when I talk about Kicks, but that's what they are.
Yep.
Catchy. Fireballs, another familiar sounding song title. Baby Time Bomb. Book to Hypnotize. Put My Money Where Your Mouth Is. She Loves Me Not. Fireboy. I'm Bombed. And then it ends with a ballad, If You Run Around, which is, and the more I think about it, just looking at that, that's a really good song. If You Run Around. Really slow tempo ballad.
Like as slow as Walking Away?
Yeah, it's a lot like that song, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll have to listen to that.
It's kind of a, if you run around, don't run back to me kind of thing, So kind of like the Walking Away, but.
My money on song titles is Put My Money Where Your Mouth Is.
Yeah.
That's the most catchy title right there. I couldn't say by a mile.
That's definitely has an AC/DC vibe to it. Think of.
I'm just going to go out there on a limb and say that's my favorite song.
I wish I could play it now because it might be. But so my two favorites, I should have put more thought into this. I figured when I pulled up these albums and I look at the back, I can pick out two really easy. I think this is a really good album. I was really surprised by it. Like, I was super glad to hear it. And honestly, this may have been the start of me coming out of the grunge and going back to the roots, so to speak, for me, and getting back into the hair metal. Although there was still a lot of bands that were putting out good stuff in the mid 90s, and this is going to be their last one for 19 years past before they put out their next album. Yeah. And I think they just kind of went on hiatus and had some side things and maybe some issues with some of the band members. And I'm sure in the comments, if you have some stories or know some things, please fill us in. But this isn't necessarily a Kicks documentary, so I'll move on. But my two favorite songs are going to be not Put My Money Where Your Mouth Is, although it is a good song, but
it's just a great title.
It might be If You Run Around, which is a ballad. And I like 911. Fireballs is a good song too.
My second one would be Bombed, because that's the way it was from about 1985 to about 2013 for me.
Yeah.
Bombed.
Yeah.
Just out of my gourd.
Whole nother episode. Off the topic of music, probably.
I know. I just had to throw that out there. Just kind of brought it.
And then They finished their career with an album called Rock Your Face Off. And I'm going to pull it up because I don't have a copy of it with me today, which is odd. I just couldn't find it in my, like Chad was talking about. He got rid of a lot of his physical media, whether they were CDs, cassettes, what have you. But it came with this documentary, and there's a live 12 songs live on here, so it's actually 2 discs, and they're DVDs. But it came with that album when I bought it, Rock Your Face Off. Awesome return to. So 2014 it came out.
Well, they did have 19 years to think about it.
Yeah, they did have a long time to think about it.
Joking.
But you go back, if you put this into me, it sounds like it picks right up where they left off in the mid 80s or whatever. Like it sounds like Kicks. I mean, it is Kicks. Wheels in Motion is the first song. You're Gone. Can't Stop the Show. Rollin' in Honey. Rock Your Face Off. All the Right Things. Dirty Girls. Inside Outside In, which is kind of a ballady song too. Mean Misadventure. Love Me With Your Top Down. Talk about great song titles.
I already picked my 2 favorites.
Just based on the titles?
Yep.
Tail on the Wag and Rock and Roll Showdown. It ends with. So 14 songs on that album. So they had some material over the 19 years between their show business and this one. But it just great. And the documentary that came with it, I could watch this. I should watch this again. And then it's got 12 live songs. A lot of the songs live are from this album, so you're missing some of the things, like I talked about on Hotwire. I can't wait to hear him play Same Jane when I go see him in concert. I don't get to do it anymore unless I go back and watch some live videos, which I should do soon. But pretty heavy on the Rock Your Face Off songs on that DVD, but it's not a bad thing because there's a lot of good songs on here. I think it's going to be hard for me to pick my top 2. I guess it just depends on what day of the week or what mood I'm in when I listen to it. Are you pretty familiar with this one?
I am not. This is another one I just didn't really. I think I've heard a few songs on here, but I honestly am just shooting blind here.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'll just do my top 2 just based on song title. Love Me With Your Top Down and Dirty Girls. That's my 2 favorites.
They kind of go hand in hand.
Yep.
Love Me With Your Top Down. Think convertible car.
That's not what I'm thinking.
That's not what you're thinking.
No.
And I think the innuendo is there.
Yep.
There's lyrics in the song about a car, but Love Me With Your Top Down. So my 2 are going to be, and that's probably one of them, actually, just based on song titles. Like Chad said, this is based on, I've listened to this album numerous times. In the teens, I would say. Not hundreds of times, like maybe
Appetite for Destruction.
Yeah, or even in the Kicks lineup, Midnight Dynamite. I've listened to that hundreds of times. I could safely say that.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, probably close to 15, 20 times I've listened to this album from front to back. And it changes from time to time. Love Me With Your Top Down stands out. Inside Outside In stands out. You're Gone. There's just something about that song.
I like that Inside Outside In.
Yeah.
It's kind of a, it's kind of a cool title.
Yeah, the inn is INN, like a hotel.
Hotel, yeah.
Right, so think of being inside a place called the Outside Inn.
Yep.
It is a great song title.
It is. It's catchy. It's what the heck's the word? It's original. It's, I don't know what else to say about it, but yeah, there's some good titles in there.
So 43 years, and they have these 7 studio albums that we talked about. So not a huge catalog, but I love Kicks. Like I think they don't fall into that category of bands you never heard of or but they definitely fall into the underrated category for me. I think they should have been bigger, and not that they weren't big in their own way. But I know they don't have Metallica money, you know.
No, there isn't many bands out there, that, bands that do. I mean, there's some, I was looking up like Jay-Z's Billions, stuff like musicians like that. I'm sure Taylor's in the billions. She's just got announced that, right?
Yeah, probably.
Just became in the billionaire club. They don't have that kind of money, but they ain't eating McDonald's.
Yeah, and I think since these bands that we're mostly going to talk about, since they came out, there's a lot more ways for artists to make money than there was back then. Then it was records and touring, and that was about it.
Merch, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, selling T-shirts at the show.
Yeah.
I bought this one online. I didn't get to go to the show, but I wanted to have a memento. So that's it. That's Kicks. So I'm going to give you my top 5.
You might as well rank them all.
Yeah, I might as well. No, I did. I am going to rank them all. I
got them all ranked.
I have it in my notes, too. So for me, I don't need to show them again. Even though I was just talking about how great it was, I keep this in mind. 7-1, there's not a bad album in there that I can say. But unlike when we talked about Saint Anger, neither of us really. Chad called it a turd.
It's a turd.
I don't have any turds in this group.
Nope, none.
For me, but Show Business would be number 7. Rock Your Face Off, number 6. And then a tie at 4 and 5 to me between Kicks and Cool Kids, the first 2 albums. And then it goes Hot Wire 3, Blow My Fuse 2, and Midnight Dynamite 1.
Okay. I'm going to do, so the first 4 I know, oops, I kind of screwed that up. That Cool Kid's supposed to be above that. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go, so 5 for me would be Cool Kids. I liked it, just not as much as the rest. Then I would go number 4, Hot Wire. Number 3, Blow My Fuse. Number 2, the first Kicks album. And number 1, Midnight Dynamite, because that's where it began for me for Kicks. And, I know you did the first one and Cool Kids pretty low. But there's something about that goddamn first album. I can just listen to it and listen to it and listen to it. It's just got a really catchy, groovy feel to it. And I've always liked it, even though it's not, like our typical sounding hair bands. It's just got that groove to it that I just love. So that's my top 5. And they're just an all-around good band. We mentioned, AC/DC-ish. That terms get thrown around a lot. There's a lot of other bands that we're going to talk about that sound a lot more like AC/DC, I guarantee. But they just, when you think of AC/DC, I think of, it makes you want to bob your head or tap your foot. That's the kind of music that AC/DC makes. They make good, solid rock and roll that makes you want to tap your foot or bang your head or just bob your head.
Right on.
And that's the way Kicks is to me. They just got that feel. They got a good, catchy groove to their music. So I'll let Krish kind of finish up the episode if we're going to finish it up here. It was his episode, so to speak, and I'll let him close it out.
Yeah, so the Kicks, great band, good catalog of music. I could listen to it all day long. But I did want to mention a couple of side projects they did, or these are mostly Steve Whiteman side projects. He's got one not too long ago, fairly recent solo album, which is good. I cannot think of the title for it to save my life.
I can't either, but I can see the cover.
It's just
a stick figure, plain white.
Yeah. Check it out if you can find it.
I can't think the name of it either.
And then he had a couple of albums with his band called Funny Money. I don't know if you've
never heard those. No, I didn't even know about those.
Very Kicks-like. And obviously when you have a singer in a band, his voice is thing you hear, or that's probably the most distinctive. There are some guitarists who are super distinctive in the way they play, but so obviously if you pick up, there's I think two or three Funny Money releases, and then Steve Whiteman's got his solo stuff. But check those out. Tell us what you think in the comments if you get a chance to listen to them. If you like Kicks, you'll like them for sure.
I'll add to the whole comments thing, because that's where you're going to be able to. We'll put links to different stuff in there. We do have a little bit of merch. We're working on more, and once we have the store up and running, I'll put links to that too. Not begging you for your sales or anything, but if you find our stuff interesting and you want to buy something that helps us out, it would be great. But we'll put a lot of links in the descriptions, of, links to maybe the Kicks website or whatever, stuff like that.
Yeah, and if you like Chad, just top off that comment, like, subscribe. In the comments, share your ideas for shows. I mean, we have a list of ideas a mile long, different bands we're going to talk about. But we really appreciate you watching.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll again, there'll be a email address where you can send any comments to. We can make comments in the comment section, but if you want to make a special request, like we do an album review that you sent in, or anything like that, I'll link the email address to our podcast. So with that being said, I think we're pretty much done. What do you think?
Yep, let's wrap it up. Thanks for watching.
Wrap it up. Thanks again. Thanks for watching. Enjoy. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really hope you enjoyed our content. If you did, please like, subscribe, share, and tell your friends. We'd greatly appreciate it. Links to everything we discussed will be included in episode notes. Feel free to check those out as well. Until next time, stay golden, Pony Boy, and rock on.